how do they fit together? Is alcohol causing panic attacks? Is it causing your anxiety, or does it help? Should you have alcohol when you have a panic attack or anxiety? These are the questions we're going to talk about today. Also, the question of, are you drinking too much and what to do about it? What are the things that are going on? I remember about 10 years ago, a little bit more than 10 years ago, I was dealing with alcohol. I was drinking fairly good amount because I thought it helped with my anxiety and my panic attacks and everything like that. But I woke up one morning and I was unable to go out and get the mail, which was less than probably 700 feet from my house. I was unable to do anything. I was in a panic, anxiety state that I couldn't get out of, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know how to get help. All I knew was that I was basically paralyzed by my anxiety. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about these things. We're going to go over anxiety, alcohol, and talk to you about what the truth is about how to quit drinking and what's going on. So, Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I don't have a whole lot of anxiety in my life. Of course, it happens. I think that's part of life. But I definitely don't have the anxiety that alcohol caused. And alcohol was a big cause of my anxiety while I was drinking.
All right. All right, so yeah, let's get into this and dive into the questions and let us know in the chat box and everything like that what is going on and how you feel about alcohol and anxiety. This is something that I dealt with for quite some time. It was crippling, and it was probably what stuck me in being an alcoholic for many, many years because I thought that, alcohol was helping. But what I didn't realize is over time, it was taking away the last defense I had against anxiety. So what happened was I started out with a little bit of anxiety, drank, it seemed to help. As time went on, my little bit of anxiety turned into lots of anxiety. And I didn't realize that alcohol was causing this. I didn't realize that there's this thing called an alcohol hangover or an anxiety hangover, which comes from drinking the night before. A lot of people talk about regular hangovers. Obviously, we get sick, we don't feel good, we got the headache, we basically give ourselves the flu. But what we're not talking about, what people don't talk about as often, is the anxiety hangover. What is it like dealing with an anxiety hangover after drinking? What is it like having the jitters and the shakes and a life that you can't manage because you were drinking your way through it? Those are the things that we want to get to the bottom of because I think it's very important. Like David says, alcohol increased his anxiety quite a bit. And that's what a lot of people don't realize because what we do is we have this built-in forgetter that only tells us about the good things that alcohol gives us. The things like, hey, I feel like I'm the life of the party. My brain shuts off for a little bit. I'm not as anxious. I don't second guess myself. I'm able to talk in front of people where maybe before I wasn't. And what we don't realize is that all these things come from just waiting 15 minutes anyway. If you're going to give a good speech and you're prepared, if you're not prepared, it doesn't matter what you do unless you're, completely out of your mind. But if you're prepared, you have anxiety for a little bit and then it dwindles. It goes away. If you go to a party or a wedding or a get-together, anxiety's there and then it dwindles, with or without alcohol. But we're attributing the reduction in anxiety to alcohol, which means, okay, now I think it's this thing that it's not, and the thing that I am attributing it to is actually having an adverse effect, which is making my anxiety even higher, which makes my alcohol consumption go higher to meet the anxiety. And all the while you think it's helping, but it's actually not. And it's a difficult thing because I remember when I was drinking, there was nothing that would take away my anxiety. Nothing. I mean, I would try alcohol, and that was the only thing that seemed to help, and that's the only thing that worked for me, so I didn't want you to take it away, right? That's very important when we look at that and we start to understand, hey, these are things that we really need to look at here. What do you think about that, Terry?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Alcohol, when before I became dependent on alcohol, I thought alcohol helped everything. Especially like you go to a party and have a couple drinks and it's a little easier to talk to people Or I used to think that I could play pool, billiards better when I was drinking, things like that. It was the answer. And eventually, as alcohol started to take over my life, I didn't realize, but what it was doing is it was causing the anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety. The panic attacks would happen. It would be like this rush that I would get. Like, let me go back and kind of explain a little bit. Like, when I was deep into my drinking, I didn't want anybody to know because I didn't want to stop. I didn't want anybody to tell me that, you're drinking too much, you need to stop. And if they really knew how much I was drinking, I would be called out on it. So I would start to hide the alcohol. I mean, I don't know how many of you have done this, but I would hide the alcohol. And then I would think, I'm going to do something, and I'd be like, oh, did I hide that bottle? That sudden rush of panic that I'd get. Oh, okay, maybe I did. I think, I have to hurry up and get back home and make sure it's hidden, that sort of thing. I would panic about just the littlest things. And to push down that anxiety that I'd get in those panic attacks, I'd drink more thinking that that was going to help, because it's what helped before I became dependent on it, before I became chemically dependent on alcohol. That's what would help me. And so it just kept going and going. It was a spiral. I would drink more, thinking that it was going to calm me down. It would cause more panic. It would cause more anxiety. And it would just get worse and worse. And, eventually towards the end of my drinking, the anxiety was huge because I knew I had to stop. I knew I was an alcoholic. Deep down, I knew this. And this is just it's a horrible feeling when you know you have to stop, but you don't want to. At least that's the way I felt. I didn't want to. I liked the feeling that alcohol was giving me, and I knew I was going to have to go through this. I knew I was going to have to go through the withdrawal symptoms. I knew all this stuff that was going to happen, and that was a big downfall, and the anxiety was a huge part of it. All these thoughts would just get more and more and more, and especially now I stopped drinking when I went to rehab, and I was 30 days, and then I was a couple weeks out, and I started drinking again. That second time, the anxiety is huge. You get out of rehab, everybody is like, oh, you went to rehab, that's great, you're sober now, and then you start drinking again. You got to hide it even worse. It's a horrible, horrible feeling that you can have. And that's what I was going through. And eventually I just had to fess up and admit to everyone, and admit to myself especially, that was the biggest thing, that I had to stop. Sobriety had to become the most important thing to me. Otherwise I wasn't going to have anything else. And that's what I went through. But I tell you, and our program talks a lot about this. I was able to lower that amount of anxiety. And like I said in the beginning, there's still anxiety in life, of course. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And, in today's world, there's all sorts of stressful things that can drive us down that rabbit hole, especially if we spend too much time watching the news, things like that. But what the biggest thing for me was learning how to be honest, and that's honest with myself, honest with others, and then the anxiety levels just they almost went to nothing when that happened, and that started with me getting sober and admitting to everyone that I was in contact with that I was on a journey of sobriety now, and that I was going to do whatever it took, and I was asking people to help hold me accountable as well. And that's what I did. And that really lowered that amount of anxiety for me to almost nothing. And that's kind of the way it is nowadays after almost 10 years of sobriety, is I don't have a lot of anxiety in my life. Yes, there's things. I live in fire country. We have anxiety on the 4th of July because people are shooting off fireworks everywhere. But, that's something that I can do as much as I can do to prepare for it, and then whatever happens I can deal with. I've had many things happen in sobriety that are panic inducing, anxiety giving, and because because of the way I look at life now, the perspective I have on life is let's prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. And when something goes wrong, deal with it one step at a time. When I was drinking, it was worry about everything. And when something happened, see what happened, and then panic about it and drink more and not do anything about it. Now I have a path forward. And this is something that our program really gets really deep into is how to change that perspective towards life and towards alcohol so that these things don't happen. Alcohol doesn't have to rule us. It doesn't have to cause this anxiety. For me, it's a matter of not drinking it. But that's kind of the way I look at anxiety now. And yeah, it's going to happen. And for you, Marcus, I know it was a pretty big issue um, when you were working on your sobriety, and even after you had quite a bit of more anxiety. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, when I got out of rehab, anxiety was off the charts. It would not go away. Nothing would help. It was ridiculous. What helps me now, because now it's interesting because I found out, oddly, it could have coincided with quitting cigars, because I smoked cigars for many years after I got sober, and it could have coincided with my dad passing, but something happened where my anxiety just fell off. And I was sitting there and I'm like, well, where's my anxiety? Usually it's here. Where did it go? And now it's very, very low. And I think a lot of it has to do with acceptance, realizing, hey, anxiety is just a biochemical reaction. Like, you could get anxiety from anything. Like, I know people who do certain types of things do get high anxiety. You know, people that use uppers, it's an anxiety provoking thing. And that's a chemical response. And anxiety and panic attacks are chemical inducing. That's a fact. And we look at that and it's like, okay, what do we do about that? Okay, well, what we do is we realize that they're not real, right? Like 9 times out of 10, they're not real. Obviously, if you think something real is happening, get your butt to the doctor, always. But realizing that anxiety is not real, it's a chemical reaction. What's happening is your brain is working very, very good. That's what anxiety is. And for people like me that went through things as a kid, you know, your brain is calculating your safety. So you might walk down a road and see a guy who has a face that reminded you of someone that abused you in the past, and all of a sudden you get anxiety, and you don't know why, because the only thing that changed is you now have anxiety. You're not backtracking and saying, oh, well, that guy with the beard reminded me of this thing. No, your brain is just saying, hey, here's what we need to do. And it's very, very important to look at and understand, hey, look, anxiety is not real. It's not real. Sometimes it is real. You know, you look at things that go on in your life, and sometimes there are some real things you are anxious over, but anxiety is not really a helpful emotion or feeling. So how can we turn that into something practical? Well, the first thing we need to do is go to the doctor and detox. The second thing we need to do is stay sober and muscle through the anxiety. For the first 90 days, I couldn't even sit still. I couldn't go to meetings. I mean, I did. I forced myself, but I didn't want to. All I wanted to do when I got in a meeting is I want to leave the meeting. Then when I was home, I'm like, I don't want to be here. I didn't want to be anywhere. I was an anxious wreck. But what I did was I muscled through it and I said, okay, I'm going to get through this. It's not going to kill me. It hasn't before, so I'm probably okay. Obviously, if you think there's something life-threatening, go to the doctor. But for the most part, anxiety and panic attacks are more or less just going to pass. And sometimes they have physical responses. I remember a couple weeks ago, I was stressed out, and it wasn't so much anxiety, but it was a physical response with stomach issues and heartburn that I couldn't even, I was 2 seconds from going to the ER, and it was like, well, it was just stress induced, and it did in fact pass. A lot of these things do pass. And when we pour alcohol on the problem, it feels like it's getting better, but it's not. And what we need to do is it's known as exposure therapy. We're exposing ourselves to the hard issue or the stimulus. I remember when I was trying to get sober, I would look at it and I'd be like, okay, one of my anxiety provokers was going to church. And at the time, my wife wanted to go to church, so I tried to go to church until it became unbearable to sit there because of anxiety, which was because of previous trauma around churches. A lot of stuff there. And, looking at that was like, okay, I can either learn to deal with this or just not go to church. I chose not going to church, which seemed to help. And, looking at that as, okay, if I go, like going to meetings when I was anxious, I would go to meetings. By the time I went to like 50 meetings, the anxiety started to drop because I realized, okay, this isn't going to kill me. I'm just sitting here. Nobody cares. I leave. That's it. End of story. And over time, it does get better, but you have to really get past that hurdle of alcohol is not really helping. I'm going to face this without alcohol, and I will be okay. Does that make sense to everyone?
Makes sense to me. Yeah, anxiety is that fear of what the future, the fear of what might happen, that 1% chance of what might happen, and that's something that I've dealt with, and I still deal with here and there. But your solutions, they're great. It's what I do and what I did. I went to a lot of meetings, and that helped a lot because I was able to talk to people that have gone through and are going through the same thing, and that's super helpful because I realized that, hey, we got through it. How about that? And that was one of the tools I used. Another thing is just making little rules for myself. And when you first get sober, and I'm sure any of you that are on that sober journey have been told these things, but it's things like, don't go to that bar where your friends are hanging out. I mean, think about it. You can't go there and just drink soda or iced tea or whatever while they're drinking booze. That's going to cause some anxiety. It may not right then. It will in the future, especially when you just have that constant temptation. And I'm not saying that you have to never go to a bar again, but early sobriety, there's some pretty, for me at least, the rules I set on myself were fairly strict. That was one of them. Getting the alcohol out of the house, that's another thing that helped with the anxiety level. I also, just like Marcus was saying, I also felt very uncomfortable in that first year of sobriety. I don't know what to do. I used to sit around and drink. What do I do now? I'm bored. And so that was, like I said, I went to the meetings. So I did that. I started to do more hiking, more bicycling, and started to do things with other sober alcoholics, go bowling, stuff like that. Things that sounded like fun, and I'd go and try them out. And if it wasn't so fun, okay, that's cool. It's all right. I don't need to keep going. And that's what I did, is try to find a niche for myself, something that I can do that is entertaining, that does not involve alcohol. And that's huge for me for anxiety. Another thing I do is I give myself permission, and that's permission for something like if I'm going to an event like a party or a wedding or something like that. I give myself permission to leave if I start to feel uncomfortable. And I'm not the type of person that's just going to escape, get out and rudely leave. I'll say goodbye to the hosts and maybe a few key friends and stuff like that. But I allow myself that escape, drive myself to these events. That way I can leave, and I'm not trapped there with somebody else that wants to stay. Things like that really help with the anxiety levels. I also don't. And this was hard, and I know it's very difficult for many people, but this is what I did was I am no longer going to do things that I don't want to do that cause anxiety. I'm not going to do those things. I'm going to say no thank you instead of going, all right, I'll go do it. And that's big for me, and I still try to live that way. Of course, there's things in our life that we have to do that we're not real fond of and that we need to go do. But I try to just do things that are better. And that for me, that included my work as well. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And that was very helpful for me as well. So yeah, that's kind of what worked for me. And those are the types of things I do now. That helps me a lot. Somebody's saying, "What is this music?"
Yeah, I
Huh.
think there was some music that played on a background tab I had open.
Okay, I
Always
didn't hear
fun.
it. I'll have to watch the replay.
Yeah. Let me know. Watch the replay and give me some timestamps on it so we can remove it. But yeah, anxiety is a big thing, and it was one of the things that stopped me from getting sober, but it didn't have to if I understood it. What we do on this channel and what we do over at talksober.com in our course is we talk about the things that nobody told us, the things that I wish I would have known. Because had someone told me earlier, anxiety is not real. I remember I was talking to my dad, and he very much believed anxiety was real, and he stayed home for 2 years because of it, didn't go anywhere, and it was very difficult. And he was trying to help me through it when I was in the midst of my drinking, the depths of my drinking, where I went on a motorhome trip with him when my dad passed, or when my grandpa passed, and he was always telling me, the key to anxiety is focus on things outside yourself. And I tried that and it didn't work. And then I met some Buddhist monk guy who was like, oh, the key is mindfulness. And nothing made sense to me. I was like, what are you talking about with this? Or what is it talking about with this? What do we do here? And I realized that the thing that helped me was realizing that alcohol or that anxiety wasn't real and it was brought on by my alcoholism. Once I realized that chemicals were what drove me, I realized, okay, I have coffee in the morning and alcohol at night or in the afternoon or even in the morning or even in my coffee because I was toggling between anxiety provoking coffee and lack of sleep and all this stuff that was really driving my anxiety, but I didn't realize it. I thought I just had something wrong with me, which is important. Serge says I have agoraphobia unless I'm drinking. Well, and that is brought on by an overactive mind that is compensating for alcohol. Your mind is trying to keep up with the alcohol. And it's like, okay, I need to produce more anxiety because this dude is resting on his laurels and not paying attention to what's going on. Then you have a state of heightened anxiety. It will pass. I think, and I believe, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a philosopher. I never went to school for pretty much anything other than regular high school stuff, and barely that. But I truly believe that a lot of the problems in our society is because people take their minds seriously. I have anxiety. I am depressed. Something is wrong with me. We are attaching the I to the symptom. However, when you say, I have this condition, it's not you. Your body has the condition. It's not me. My mind is doing this thing. And it is nothing wrong with us as a person. It's something with our mindset. And when we look at this, I remember I thought something was wrong with me. Oh, hey, you know what? I think this way, therefore something is wrong with me. No, the human mind wasn't made to consume hours and hours of murders on TV. That gets into your brain. Recently, we had a very traumatic incident very near to a place where I own, and it was traumatic to go and have to give police statements and stuff like that. It was very, very traumatizing. And later, a couple days later, my wife suffered panic attacks because of that. And it was like, nothing's wrong with you. You were exposed to stimuli that would happen to anyone. That's a natural detox of the chemicals leaving your body. Nothing's wrong with you. When we start to look at alcoholism, nothing is wrong with you. Your anxiety is off the charts because you dampened it with alcohol. And now you're dealing with the repercussions of it. Luckily, they do go away. And the best way to make them go away is by understanding nothing is wrong with you. You feel like you're afraid of everything. All right. I know people that watch the news and they're afraid of everything. Why? Because the news tells you to be afraid of everything. Like the Democrats are getting me. The Republicans are getting me. They're out there coming after me. No, they're not. They're a figment of your imagination on TV, and if you shut your TV off for a year, nothing in your life will change except you won't be afraid of everything. But people don't realize this because news is entertainment, it drives ads, and people watch it. We feel like we need to. We got to watch the news or we're not responsible adults. Well, the news is 90% horse shit and 10% actual news, right? I mean, you could read the same thing, you can get the same thing without the anxiety just by looking at what you want to look at. And when you drink, it heightens these things, and things start to get more messy and more difficult. But it's not the things that are getting more difficult, it's your perception, it's your life philosophy, it's what you believe about the world. And if you believe that, oh my gosh, there's all these bad forces going and coming after me, yeah, you're going to be afraid of everything. But if you believe that, hey, I'm actually okay, like, I'll tell you what, 10 years ago, if the thing that happened recently near me would have happened when I was drinking, I would have sold my house within 5 minutes. But now I'm able to rationally look at it and be like, hey, it's an isolated incident. It's because of X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be okay. Going to be all right. Probably not going to happen again. If it does, we worry about it. You know, I say, what am I going to do about it? But we worry in a rational way, not a flip-out way. I used to be a complete flip-out. When things would happen, I would get chaotic. I would get anxious. I would get frantic. And now I'm like, hey, it is what it is. It's going to happen. How do I protect myself? How do I deal with things in a realistic way? Because as Korzybski said, I think is how you say his name, the map is not the territory. If I sit here and I look at a map of the United States or the world, the map is representative of our drawing of what is actually out there. It is not what is actually out there, right? If you go and you drive from California to Nevada, there is no line separating the two states. It's invisible, it's made up. Even if they did draw a line, it doesn't mean anything. It's the same as drawing a line down the room with two siblings because they're fighting over who has a bigger half of the room. It does not exist. We have made our world fit into boxes, and that has made us anxious. We've made everything fit into little categories, which has made us anxious. Those people are bad. That makes us anxious. Those people are good. That makes us feel safe. Are those people any different? No, it's what you think about them. And we start to realize that all we're doing is drawing lines in the sand, and they make us anxious. You watch the TV. Oh, we're not like the Democrats. We're not like the Republicans. We're not like these people. Well, what if you made up your own mind and said, I'm going to believe what I want to believe? I don't fit into one box. I fit into what I decide I think is good. And even that is fallible. Even your memory is fallible. And we rely on all these things that create anxiety. And to me, I talk to my wife about this all the time, and she's like, I don't know how that calms you. To me, the most calming thing in the world is to realize that I am one person on a rock floating through space, and it's vast, and I am so insignificant that, hey, I'm good, because I can go through life and be okay. Because it's not everything against me. The world doesn't revolve around me. And to me, that's relaxing. I don't know. Terry, what do you think about that? Is that relaxing or anxiety-provoking for you?
The world doesn't revolve around me? No, I agree with you completely. That is calming. The other thing, realizing for me, it goes along the same lines, and that's that I only have control over certain things. And if I really look at it, I have control over much less than I think I have control over. You know, I don't have control over other people. I don't have control over other places. I don't really have control over many things. People, places, and things, that covers about everything. I have control over me, how I think, what I'm going to do, what decisions I make. I might have some control over my dog. Very little control over the cat, that's for sure. but I don't have a lot of control over things.
Real quick.
Yeah.
If you guys hear music, let me know if it ends now. Is it still there? If you still hear the music, type 57 in the box. If you don't hear it, type 100. And they can't hear you right now, Terry. I'm testing to see if the music is on your end or mine. Okay, let me know. Type 100 if you do not hear the music. 57 if you do. Hold on. Is there anything open on your computer, Terry? No windows, no tabs, no nothing? Internet? Okay, it's something. Do you have music playing in the background in your house? Odd. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, it does go away. Tell me if it comes back. So, Terry, go ahead and take it away, and we'll see if it comes back.
That's strange. Huh. Anyways, Marcus was talking about, what were you talking about? Oh, the way you take care of stress. And what I was saying is that just realizing how much control over I have for things, and that I have no control over anything that's outside of me, the way I act, the way I react, and the decisions I make. And it looks like lost audio for Terry, and it happened
You're
when you
back.
switched.
You're good.
It stopped. Okay.
We can hear you. You're good.
Okay. Anyways,
So,
see, I
so
don't
they're
have
on a
control.
20-second delay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I don't have control over the delay. I don't have control over the music that's playing in the background. Nothing. I don't know what it is. But, yeah. Control. Realizing that I don't have control over other things. So I just, what other people do, unless it affects me directly, there's nothing I can do about it. And that gives me a lot of freedom. That takes away a lot of anxiety from me. Just realizing this is it's amazing. That helps me so much in life. And that's the key for me. And yeah. And the music just started. Music is back. That is great.
Something when I go to. So it does not happen now. That's weird.
Huh.
Is it, let me see. Music, media source, no. Mic, video capture, no. Desktop audio. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have any, I literally just started this computer for this, so I don't know. And I don't hear it. Is it music or is it background noise? Like someone said it was a symphony. I'll have to replay it and figure it out, but there is nothing open on this computer at all.
Yeah, mine, I have Skype open and the YouTube open.
It's
That's
an
it.
intro kind of upbeat song with violins and drums. Are you guys getting ads? Is it an ad? It's really weird.
I'm going to keep this open and I'm going to check one thing. Okay? I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So it does not happen on me, which is interesting. Yeah. No, we checked all the audio. It's just, I don't know, maybe he's got something in his house or something. The fact that it starts in interesting times is weird. All right. So it's the same audio over and over. Okay. Maybe it's something on Skype. Maybe Skype's being weird. But I mean, I don't hear it, which is strange. If I don't hear it here, so... You know what? Actually, now that Terry's gone, let's see if I could turn it up. Nope, I'm not hearing it on his. Interesting. All right.
Interesting.
Playing on someone else's computer.
I had soundscapes playing on the TV upstairs. I turned it off, but...
Was it symphony sounding?
No.
Huh.
It's like mellow music.
That's weird.
Playing on someone's computer. Well, thanks everybody for watching us go through this.
And you guys don't hear it when when it's just me on camera, right? Or it's random? Okay. It could be a Skype thing. I don't know. It's weird.
Huh.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this talk. If you have any ideas for talks in the future, let us know. And check out talksober.com. We got our new, I'm doing the studio in the backyard office again for Talk Sober. So I think that'll be kind of fun. It's when you first switch to Terry. All right, let's see if it happens. Switching to Terry. You know, I think actually video capture, display, media source. Let me see. Media source. Aha! There it is. Yep. Okay, I found the problem. Delete that. And that's why it keeps restarting and not starting. Gotta love all these tabs. Okay, so now it should be fine. No, it's not a Skype setting. It's a background video that, because I'm on a different computer than I'm usually on for Talk Sober, and it had an old video playing, which probably had some voice too. Luckily, luckily I use royalty-free music for that stuff, so we should be okay. Yeah. So.
Hey, Moon to ADZ. You were mentioning that you're too nervous to go to a real AA meeting. Try an online one, and then from there go to an in-person one. I've never had any stressful or negative situations at an AA meeting. Sure, there's been some people talking about things that make you uncomfortable, but nothing directed at anybody. I think the AA people are very welcoming. Give it a try. Yeah, I was scared too. It works. It can help you.
All right, cool. Any last minute thoughts there?
Just as we've been pointing out, the alcohol causes panic attacks. It causes anxiety, and if you can get the alcohol out of your system, it's going to lower it just automatically. I've heard this from many people that are in recovery, and so many people have had to deal with the panic attacks and anxiety when they were drinking, and soon after they stopped drinking. But as time went on, it took care of itself, and that's because they learned a new perspective towards life. That's what our program talks about, is learning that new perspective. So have at it. And it was great to see you all today, and thanks for putting up with us and our technical difficulties.
All right, guys, thanks for being here, and smash the like button. Head over to talksober.com, check out all the cool stuff we got for you, and sign up for the course if you want to support what we're doing, and we'll see you next week.